these pumps, just to go real quickly, have the things that are the biggest hang up on these pumps are where the cartridge goes in, right here. And there's this little deal here. Okay, what happens is that's how if you look at this cartridge here, it meters it a couple different ways. It has you have this chamber here, and it calculates the fluid going through the chamber, and then there's also this deal here, and this is what the pump senses for air bubbles. So what happens is it uses both parts, and it calculates how much fluid is actually going through a certain rate. Similar to like a chronograph on a rifle, where you're going A to B and how long it takes. It can calculate how much fluid is going from here to here, and that's how you can figure out your rate. And so one of the big problems on these, and I think this started about 2 or 3 years ago, and I brought this up to corporate's attention. I don't know if we went to a
they don't like you.
I know they don't. Well, we're having problems. I used these pumps for 12 years in Santa Clara, and I literally never had to change one tubing one time in 12 years. I mean, they just snap in, good to go. And then all of a sudden, like 3 years ago, we're having all these, air in line, can't get to work, cassette jammed, all the time. And it's the same everywhere. And so I asked Mary. Mary called the MICN rep, and I think that they changed their vendor who makes these. And I don't think that the stuff is right. So what happens is I think it fits in a little bit tight. So I tell people, first thing I would do is I take an alcohol swab and I clean off this groove here. You can get grime, dirt, things like that in there. I clean it off if you have a problem with air in line, or even if you're having cassette jammed. When you put it in like this. Let's see here. This is. Now, just because this is one of the big problems, like this is not these should go in nice and smooth, and this one is not.
Jesus.
And that's the thing. Like, see, this one goes in. It's hard to do it sitting up like this. Okay, now put it in like this. And you see this tubing right here? How I pull down? I tell people, pull down. Don't just fold it. Actually, pull down and snap it in place. Here, I snapped it in place. I actually pull down like a rubber band and then snap it. And for some reason, I guess the force, the gravity, whatever it is, it allows it to kind of really seat well in that tube. And a lot of times, if I have a problem with air in line, I'll just pop that back out, and then I'll pull down and snap it back in, and use my thumb and just snap it in, and then all of a sudden, it'll work really, really well. If it still says air in line, you make sure it's been flooded and there's no air bubbles anywhere, then what I do is you push with your ink pen. Oh, sorry.
So you have an ink pen.
Well, that's what I said. This is a tool you need. Thanks for coming. And and then what you do is you push on this tube here, and sometimes you just need to do that to seat. It'll make the 3 beeps. If it says air in line and you push it,
So it kind of pushes it back?
Yeah, so it does it, pushes back and seats it. And what I think what's happening is that the tube is not going in straight. It's like curved, and then what you do is when you push it with the pin, you set it, and then all of a sudden now the machine can sense the tubing going through that, and you're good to go. That's one of the things I tell people to do that. And then, of course, if you do all these things and you still can't get to work, you should attempt to change the tubing. And if that doesn't work, then then the pump needs to be serviced. I think that, and I'm just as guilty as everyone else. We really need to turn these in. If it's not working, we need to turn them in because they have so many service problems. The company will then recommend after a certain amount of time that we have to replace them. For setting up for a drip. Turn it on.
Blaine, there's Kleenex right to your right.
Oh. This is the thing I think messes people up, and I don't think you guys have a problem, but I've had people in hospitals do this. When I worked in the dairy, I'd average about 1 or 2 med errors a week on drips where they're off. I had a 1-month-old that got 1,000 micrograms of fentanyl an hour.
That's it?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I did. 6 months old. Yeah.
Now it's a party.
Yeah, and the reason why was that they forgot this. Well, it's concentration. Have to have that right. All the rest of it, I don't care what it is. And people are saying, well, I'm just going to match the mLs. If the facility has the wrong, is giving the wrong rate, and you continue it, you know the law. If you're continuing a bad practice, you're just as guilty as the people who started it.
Right.
So you need to do the drug calc on the thing. I mean, that's just, and if you do decide not to, that, that's up to you. But I'm just telling you that my recommendation always is do the drug calc so you know that what they're saying they have is what they have. So you have to have concentration, which is the amount of drug or medication in the fluid. Okay? Got to have that. And it's got to be right. So, for example, would be dopamine, 400 milligrams in 250 mLs of D5W, okay, or whatever they want to run in it. Okay, if you have double strength, it's 800. Some people run even 1200. Depends, if they're running, like neonate on dopamine, they'll have a really super concentrated, so you're not getting all that fluid by. But the point is that not all dopamine is the same, so you need to know what you have. Typically, everyone runs 400, 250, especially in this county. So you have to have that. So to get to that mode, let's see here. So what you do is, you see there's buttons up here. There's on, off, standard display. When you highlight a channel, it just goes to that channel. So let's say you go, that's not the channel I want. You need to go back to standard display, and we'll say we're going to go to C. Okay. This needs service, of course. See, it's realistic, real life. You see, and that one won't go in that one.
Nice ship.
Okay, so we have an A here. Okay, so you highlight the channel. Okay, but so what you do is you hit A, highlight the channel. That way, everything you do is on this one channel. Everything should be the same. Should be A up here. I know this sounds stupid, but it's like, because I've had people say I can't get it to work and they've had the wrong channel, with the cassette in the wrong channel, but they're in a hurry, you're tired, things happen. You have A, and then you have your cassette in the right channel. Okay. At this point, you hit more options up here. You see in this corner here it says calc on. Okay. You hit that. Now,
That is.
now you have your drug. The benefit of the drug is, and you don't have to do this, but it just makes it so much easier and faster, is the benefit of the drug is that if you hit the drug you want, let's say dopamine, it puts you on to, you have also, I'm sorry, when you highlight something, you always have to hit enter. If you leave this going on long enough, it'll give you a tune that da-da-da-da-da-da-da, it'll do that, okay? So hit enter. If you notice, you see now your dose, it gives you mics per kilogram per minute. Now you don't have to go and fool with all that. And if you see the concentration, it goes in milligrams per ml. It's not going to give you units per ml. It's not going to give you grams per ml. It's going to give you what is appropriate for the drug. So that's the benefit of using the medication thing. Some people, which will be unnamed, have refused to do the drug thing because they don't want to do it, and they end up spending a ton of time trying to get the concentration and get these all changed out. Don't fight it. It's just so much easier just to do this. So you see, do the drug thing. You see it has your weight. So let's say you have a patient who's 80 kilograms. Okay, if you notice I'm hitting the fast button, let's say that you go too high, then you go hit the down button once, and then hit fast button, and it'll continue going down. So it'll say up or down depending on which button you hit with it. So let's just say you want to go up to 80 kilogram patient. You're going to go and hit 80.
Enter.
You hit enter. Okay, so see it automatically calculates the weight, which is another double check, and then you're going to do your concentration. Again, the way the pump is set up with preset measures. So the most common dopamine is 400 milligrams. So if you hit fast, it'll say 400.
Boom.
Hit enter. Okay, then you hit up again, 250.
Boom.
Perfect. Thanks, Canone. And you.
Want me cooking shows or what?
Okay, so.
Hang on anymore.
So you see now you're to the dose now. You see, so you got the concentration done. See how that works? So this has got to be done. Now there are some facilities that do 800 and 500, and even though it's the same ratio, I still recommend you put in the numbers because again, you could say if you have to testify, I did this and matched it exactly the way it was in the hospital. So now you have mics per kilogram per minute, which is what we all run. Okay, so let's say you want to go, say we'll go 10 mics. So you hit fast. And the reason why I do fast, for the obvious reason is that you could do this and go all the way up, or you can do this. Okay, hit enter. Good up.
Boom.
Thank you. Okay, now you have your rate. All this should be the same as a hospital. Okay, if one of these numbers isn't matching, it's not right. There's a problem somewhere. So you should be getting, they should be saying, yeah, they're on 10 mics and their rate is 30. If they say they're on 10 mics and their rate is 36, you don't have the right weight. Something is wrong. It won't do it.
It's
So-
already preset, right?
Right.
The rate's already preset.
Right. So let's just say they go, oh my God, you know, I forgot the patient's actually at 85 kilograms. So you can go and hit select and go back up, and then you can adjust that. Okay. Now it's 31.9. See? So that may be the variable. Typically, it's the weight's the variable on most weight drugs, because they'll weigh the patient, and that's what happens. So at this point, you're ready to go, right?
Just got on shift.
So are we all ready to go?
No.
What do we need to do?
Started. Yeah, started.
No, but I'm talking about before we start it. Are we all ready to go?
Yeah, double check it.
Okay, we all did double check. Are we still ready to go? There's one thing I'm going to show you, a safety measure that will save your license, because there is something that could happen. It's very, very infrequent. It's happened to me once in 15 years, and it's hard to prove if it does happen. But there's a way you can prevent it from nailing you, and that is right here, volume infused. Okay, and volume remaining. Okay, so the infused should be 0. Always clear that. I'm sorry. When the volume infused, let's say you have a number, always clear it and hit enter. That way you can say how much you gave during transport. That way you can mark it down. But if you go up here and you go to volume remaining, this is what the pump will give until it senses it goes to 0, and then they'll give a message saying, you know, it sets you down to minimum, says you're getting close to running out of the drug. The pump doesn't know how much is in the bag. You're telling what it is. If it's 1,000, you put 1,000 in. In hospital and ICU, you put exactly what's in the bag, because you have to calculate how long they got this medication for intake and output and for documentation. For you guys, all you need is the volume infused. I put the bare minimum that you're going to be giving. You see, like right now the rate's 31. I put like 40 if there's like 31. And the reason why I do that is, if for some reason you get in an auto accident, patient kicks the pump, something happens, and you end up giving a patient a bolus of medication, you will minimize the amount of damage to the patient. Dopamine would be one that would be kind of a problem. If you gave them a 40 ml bolus, it'd take some time. But let's just say for some reason something happens. You know, you have a hard stop, you hit it with it, and somehow, some way, the pump all of a sudden gives a bolus of what's left in the bag. You don't want to give a huge amount of dopamine or any drug to a patient. Nitroglycerin's another one. Heparin's another one as well. You're going to be running those. I just put the bare amount that's there. Okay. Plus, it reminds you of getting low. If you get to like you're getting close to like 1 ml left, you can always hit. If you're like, say it's a much longer transport, stuck in traffic, you can always hit a redo where it'll reset it back to the same amount. But I like minimizing the volume remaining for a safety reason. It's happened to me only once. It was not a medication. It was actually an IV fluid bolus. Also, I heard the pump going. I'm like, well, what's going on? And it had a malfunction. But thing is that the patient only got a 250 bolus, and it wasn't that big of a deal. But again, I like to put the minimum in there. It's just a safety precaution.
Where did you come up with 40?
Because the rate is 31.9, so that's how much you're going to give in an hour.
Right.
So if you give 40, you're going to give them. If you give them an hour's worth of dopamine in 15-20 minutes, is it really good for them? No, it's not. They may have some, but you're not going to kill them with it.
And that's what I figured in my mind, but I was
Yeah.
just making
So I just go by. If the transport's a half hour, you can even go and you can even shorten that, make it give like 20. It just depends on how long it is. So, like, say it's a long transport, you're gonna be an hour. You can go like 40, or if you want, you can do it to whatever you want. If you really want to play it safe, just put a volume remaining of 20, and then you just have to hit the redo switch when it alarms. It's just something that I do. It's just a safety thing. I don't
Base it off of time.
based off the time. Again, is it ever going to happen to you? No. I have.
Better safe than sorry.
Well, I've kind of developed a John Canote attitude towards electronics, which I don't really. I just don't really trust it completely. I always think that if it's going to happen to somebody, it's going to happen to me. And tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. And so I like to safeguard things. I like to safeguard things. So that's kind of the thing that I do. So if you don't want to do that, you want to put how much in the bag. That's fine. I mean, it's only happened to me once, and it was we had a guy we had a really hard stop, and I think that somehow some way something bumped the pump, and and that's why a lot of these have plastic have covers on them. But you want to really, let's say, if you can always turn the pump away from you and facing towards the back if you don't want to make sure anyone can touch the screen. I mean, there's other things you can do for safety, but that's just something that it's just my own thing, and you guys can do what you want to do. So, anyways, that's the setup for the drip.